Welcome to The Life of Kai. This is a brand new half-hour show on We Are Here's On the Air, live on YouTube. And I'd like to thank all the people at We Are Here, Linda Perry and Kerry Brown, who's literally reinventing the wheel with this shit. And I couldn't be more thankful for this opportunity. I'm sitting on my deck by myself here, quarantined in Studio City. So the opportunity to do something creative like this is awesome. Breathe in. Breathe out. So much better. Well, my name is Kai Arns, and I'm an artist. I create a lot of concert posters that you might have seen around town or around the world. I make music videos. I do album covers. I make art. Are you sick and tired of being at home? Well, this is what we're gonna have to do, and this is the new world, man. And honestly, I think what's happening right now, as terrible and horrible as the things that are going on around the world, this is the restart button we've all needed. We just didn't know it. It's becoming very clear to me right now that this is the new revolution of life. Stripping away the things that don't matter, keeping the things that do, finding out who your true loved ones are, and the new form of communication where we're doing this right now, and where you go on Zoom and talk to an aunt you haven't seen forever and realize that you have way more in common than you ever knew. There's a silver lining here, and I think that with this show here on YouTube, we're going to reflect some of that. Let's talk about what's on the show today. Today, I have Money Mark. Are you a Beastie Boys fan? Well, heck. Well, fuck! He's responsible for, bringing you some of the great tracks on Check Your Head. He's worked with Beck, Karen O. I love him to death. He's an absolute genius. I'm glad to have him on the show today. And he's been doing something really fun and fantastic during this quarantine. He's been doing something that he's invented called the Isolation Jam. And if you go on his Instagram, you can check it out. He makes the coolest, little 1-minute songs. Keeps himself busy at his studio where he is quarantined in his recording studio. What better place for an artist like that? Also on the show today, we'll have an episode of Poster Talk. Every episode of The Life of Kai, I will be featuring one of the posters that I've created and a background on how I made it. Another fun thing happening on today's show, very special surprise guest. You'll recognize him when you see him. He'll be on Karaoke Corner. Now, the fun thing about Karaoke Corner, you can comment live on this show, and if he sucks, I'll pull the plug. If he's great, he gets another song. How much do you love that? Also on Life of Kai, there's a segment I like to call Guilty Pleasures. That is where I play a music video, and we talk about how great this song is that we're not supposed to like. My track is a song by a former lead singer of your favorite band, ABBA. It's Frida with I Know There's Something Going On. But starting out today's show, I'm doing the Artist Spotlight. This is the part of the show where I feature one of my favorite artists that you may or may not know. You may know this guy. This, of course, is Sammy Davis Jr., as seen by Al Hirschfeld, who is one of the finest artists of his time. I think you've probably seen maybe the Aerosmith album cover, Draw the Line. Anyway, here's a segment all about Al Hirschfeld on The Life of Al Hirschfeld. Born 1903, died 2003. 100 years of magnificent art. Al's drawings stand as one of the most innovative efforts in establishing the visual language of modern art through caricature in the 20th century. A self-described caricaturist, his work has appeared in virtually every major publication in the last 9 decades, including a 75-year run in the New York Times, as well as numerous books, record covers, and postage stamps. Hirschfeld said his contribution was to take the character created by the playwright and portrayed by the actor and reinvent it for the reader.
Just before his death in 2003, he learned he was awarded the Medal of Arts from the National Endowment of the Arts and inducted into the Academy of Arts and Letters. The winner of 2 Tony Awards, he was also given the ultimate Broadway accolade on what would have been his 100th birthday in June in 2003. The Martin Beck Theater was renamed the Al Hirschfeld Theater. Congratulations, Al. You've always been one of my favorites. I love your art. And check this out. I own a Hirschfeld. Look at this. Bob Hope. Sign number, 15 of 200. And I bought this for $400. So you can get classic, amazing, timeless art still by the Al Hirschfeld. And you know what? I'm sick of talking about art. Let's get funky! Are you sitting home alone again, wondering about the future? Will you be rich? Will you die young? Go see Paz, the psychic, the all-seer. You need Paz. Know your future.
In the witching hour Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a big round of applause for Money Mark. This is Money Mark, and
yes, I'm getting dizzy. I'm getting dizzy. Look at no, I don't want to fall down, so I better keep it straight right here.
I love it. Mark is a musical wizard. Mark is also a man of cool visuals. He thinks about the whole thing. What's that watch you got on there? What is that?
Oh, that's a watch I made, and it says now, because we got to do shit now.
See,
I mean, if you have an idea, if you have any idea, you just got to do it now. If you wait and you wait and you wait, I mean, look at all the things that are going on in the world. It's because we just wait. So anyway, be different and do your things now.
Tell everybody here where you are right now. That looks like you have toys for days.
Yes, I'm in like a workshop area where I work and build stuff. Just a bunch of stuff around here. Here's my little, battery operated. Whoa, battery operated clavinet right here. And what else do I have? All kinds of stuff out here.
If you want to check out Mark's isolation jams, that's kind of a segment that he invented here in our quarantine. They are an absolute treat every time they drop into your feed like a little dessert for the day for your eyes and your ears. And basically what he's doing is making music and songs, combining sounds that are completely not conventional. What's the I'll put the handle on the screen, but just tell everybody.
Well, it's Money Mark Official. That's my Instagram. I'm only posting it there. The idea was that to use things that are maybe common in a lot of people's homes, but no, I didn't want to use all my vintage high-end gear. But there's a dogma kind of idea going on here, which is you only get the 1 minute, right? And then I only use the microphone on the smartphone. There's no edits, and everything just happens in real time, you know, for that 1 minute. So I don't want to do any cutting, any fancy things. So it's like anybody can do this. It's just kind of dream up an idea. If you got pots and pans, you know, those are like steel drums that washed up on the shore in Trinidad and Tobago. And they made sounds out of things that you find, you know. It's fun. All
right, well, you're watching Life of Kai, and this is an isolation jam by the one and only Money Mark.
I'm already in my Chihuahua pajamas. Yes, I'll text you in the morning, I promise. Look, there's something I want to say. It's a little difficult, but here goes. I slit the sheets. The sheets I slitteth. On the slitteth sheets I sit. So there. Good night. One more jam before I go to sleep here.
All right.
We are back here with Money Mark, and he's got so many wonderful things in his backyard. So when you were a kid, I can only imagine that you constantly had your mother's pots and pans sprawled all over like a giant drum set. Well, how did you begin getting obsessed with music?
Well, there's a quick story here. I'm in the basically the perfect product of my parents. My father was an electronic engineer and a musicologist. And then my mother was from a family of musicians. So like I bought my first Fender Rhodes when I was like 14, and my father took it apart completely to show me how it worked, and he wanted to learn how it worked too. He wasn't a musician per se, but he wanted to be involved. He took apart my synthesizers, he took apart everything, and he showed me how it all worked, and that stayed in my brain. And when I see something, even electromechanical, mechanical, anything physics, I have my curiosity just sparks up, and that's how I come up with these combinations, because they're very obvious to me, but maybe people don't see them. So that's how I got into it, man.
It's fantastic. One of the first times I believe that I met Mark was in the recording studio, and he was using a cymbal in a bathroom. You would hit the cymbal or a gong, and he would drop it in the water. He does, and I would like to play one of those isolation jams as well. But how did you become obsessed with messing with water and sound?
Well, that comes from an old John Cage idea. John Cage was doing this kind of thing. He had water music, but he also had these other kind of pieces, musical pieces, where he used water and he dipped cymbals into the water. So I just kind of borrowed it from him.
Dude, you took it to the next level. Mark, you're an absolute inspiration to everybody. And once again, everybody go check out the Isolation Jams. Mark, thanks for stopping by Life of Kai.
Yeah, Money Mark Official. Money Mark Official.
At Money Mark Official. None
Okay,
of that,
bye, bye.
None of that fake fucking Money Mark shit. Official shit. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway.
Okay, dude. See you later.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.
Peace.
Don't let yourself go, 'cause everybody cries, and everybody hurts sometimes. Sometimes everything is wrong. Now it's time. Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
Well, I am just walking through my backyard into my favorite part of the backyard, which happens to be my French fry garden. As you can see, I'm crossbreeding tomatoes with potatoes with massive success. I've had a fascination with owls. I'd like to show you my owl poster. Oh, wait a minute, that is not my owl poster. That is a latch rug. This is my owl poster. Can you see it in the sun? Made this in the northern woods of Minnesota. This poster looks fantastic in black light. Anyway, welcome to Poster Talk. La 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 la.
We've got a very special guest on Life of Kai. I just got an email this morning that I was able to get Joe Exotic.
Ah, how you doing, Kai? Good to see you, brother.
Have you ever seen the movie Roar?
No, I absolutely have not seen this movie. What the fuck? Tigers and lions fighting each other? What is this, Carol Baskins, you? I mean, come on. Roar. Is this in the wild? Oh my God. Okay, a couple black guys there being like, don't fucking come near me. Okay, is that... I see a leopard mixed in with tigers and lions. Where the fuck did they film this thing? This is wild. I love this. How did I not know about this before? Tigers on the boats? Yeah, I like how they keep cutting over to the brother. Him looking over being like, what the fuck are these white people doing playing with these cats? I mean, I've had people lose arms in my facility just being this close to tigers, so... You can't wrestle, you can't outstrength a tiger in water especially. Even more so in the water than the land. Now, I've wrestled with these things before. These people don't have any kind of chance whatsoever. See, now that motherfucker is brave right there. Uh-huh. He's telling the other people, oh no. They see, I've been in that exact predicament right there when you slap a tiger in the face and it... This guy's gonna get eaten very... I haven't seen the end of this movie, but the guy who's bleeding out of his hand, there's no fucking way that guy is not dying by the end of that movie.
Joe, I can't thank you enough for coming on Life of Kai today.
Well, if you get tired of watching Tiger King, I guess pop over and watch Roar and watch Kai's show.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, Joe Exotic. Love your show, and when you get out of jail, give me a call and I'll put you back on the show. I ain't lying.
All right, Kai. Great talking to you, buddy.
Come on. Come on. Yeah, I mean, can I try to call you back? I don't know what's going on with the rest of this shit, but, I mean, you really can't go wrong with polka dots. Robin's egg blue is actually my favorite color.
Wow, I guess that's it right there.
Hey, everybody, it's Matt Pinfield. It's a Friday afternoon in Los Angeles, and back east, it's 7 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. This show is called In a Lonely Place with Matt Pinfield. And, of course, I named it that because I'm living by myself here and in Hollywood, and I love the song. It was a song from my hometown, and it was based on a Humphrey Bogart movie. And I just thought it was the best name to describe what we're going through right now. Now, a lot of us aren't necessarily lonely, and, you know, let's be honest. I have such great friends, and, you know, the music, everything keeps me going, even in these hard and uncertain times. You know, we've all lost friends that we love, and also, I mean, so many people they're struggling right now because, you know, the tours have been canceled, you know, whether it's the merch guy or the guitar tech in a band. So it's really had this incredible effect on the music industry. And we're doing this together, Linda Perry, Kerry Brown, the people from We Are Here, and we're raising money for Music Cares. And they've been really good to me because I've had my issues and struggles, and they've been there for me. And, you know, they really do a lot to help out musicians, and not just the ones that are going through some of those personal issues, but right now they're trying to help people so they can pay their bills. So if you can donate, that's great. If you can't, we also understand that. Just enjoy this show because I love doing it. Call up my friends, and we get to talk about music. And I have a great guest today on this Friday. It's a guy I love, Mark Foster. Mark Foster is from Foster the People. Mark, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. So good to be here with you.
Yeah, it's great to see you, man. We've had so many good times hanging out. And the first time we met, when I interviewed you the first time, when the first album came out, right? We hit it off and just started talking about records, and just like we're going to do today and everything else. But we know it's the thing that's always gotten us through. And I love that we both love the Beach Boys, and not just, you know, I mean, we not just Pet Sounds, but there were so many different other records that came out in that middle period that were great, you know, like Surf's Up and all those other. And so we bonded over that, as well as a ton of things. And I've always loved that when we spend time together here in LA, when we could, you know, before, you know, the social distancing, you and I would be in your car and you'd be playing me song ideas, or we'd be listening to an old Turtles song. Like, it was just cool. You know what I mean? It's the best. And, you know, and I just want to say, so tell me how this has been for you so far. You're in your recording studio right now. I know because I've been there, which is, I love that place. I mean, it's a great house. Tell me what you've been up to.
Well, I've been hunkered down. Julia and I, she was in the middle of a production in New York, which got, you know, obviously everything got postponed. So she flew out pretty early on when the whole Corona thing was spreading. So we've been together pretty much.
We got a little froze.
Month now.
Sorry about
we've
that.
Been quarantined. Yeah, we've been quarantined for about a month now. At home, and so I've been doing weird projects. I mean, obviously I have my studio here so I can stay creative and write. So I've been, you know, working on music, but more than that, like, I've been getting into woodworking. I've never done that before. I'm turning into my dad. Like, my dad's always been like really good with like making things and being whatever, and I've never shown interest. And so like I just got like a special like compound miter saw. And a couple tools to build a raised vegetable garden. You know, it's kind of like there's a lot of time. We got a lot of time on our hands, you know?
Yeah, it's great. You said that about your dad. That's what my dad was the same way, man. He loved to build with wood. He built my oldest daughter's first crib. He built, you know, but when I was a kid, he built my first stereo from scratch. Like, all the components, he shellacked the wood. So my first stereo, he built the thing from scratch. And, you know, of course, I love the man very much. I was with him, you know, the minute he passed away. Like, he stayed alive until I got from JFK to Florida. Me and my oldest daughter flew down there and met my mom and my sister. And I was so glad because he held on. Just so, like, I could tell, like, it was in a coma at this point. But he grabbed and held my hand. And then we told him it was all right. And he passed the next morning. It was a tough thing. But I love, you know, you look back now at those things about your parents that when you were younger, you kind of took for granted some of the things they did. And I think about all that stuff that he just, and that building things and fixing things.
No, it's funny because when I was a kid and, you know, he'd be working on a project around the house or whatever, the saw would be going and he would try to teach me something. I'd be like, no, man, I'm a musician. Like, I can't use a saw. Like, I'm going to cut my damn hands off, you know? And it was weird when I was like getting this miter saw going, that same thought crossed through my mind. And I was like, oh shit, what would I do? But for some reason, I don't really care as much anymore. I'm like, I got it. I'm like, you know, prosthetics are so good if I cut my hand. Here's where my head goes. Prosthetics are so good now that I'll get a fucking metal hand that looks really cool and glows in the dark, and I'll like transform into some weird robotic like disco cyborg and continue, and that'll just be
you know what I mean?
My new identity.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know. So I love that, you know, I want to just say, like, you know, Julia, for those people you were talking about, your wife, Julia Garner, who is such a great actress. She's won awards. I love her. I'm so glad they got the new season of Ozark out and done. She plays Ruthie in Ozark. She's phenomenal. And when I met her at your house, man, she was so cool because we were talking about, you know, my daughter doing acting and stuff. She was so warm and giving and just beautiful and so cool. So I was so happy when you guys got married. And I know I'm
the luckiest.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm the luckiest. You know, we got married in December, and both of us have been working so much that we didn't get to take a honeymoon. So in an odd way, the last month, this has been like our unofficial honeymoon. You know, it's our Corona honeymoon. So we you know, we've gotten to like spend more time together in the last month than we have all year.
Yeah, and I just think it's great
that
you together because I know some people, you know, I'm glad she got back before, you know, a lot of things became very, very unsafe. That's awesome that you're together doing that. You know, Mark, let's talk about you. You're born in San Jose, right? I mean, tell me about your earliest music memories and the thing that got you into wanting to play. Because I love that you're a multi-instrumentalist, the way that you create. I've seen you layer so many things, and it's really, I love your songwriting and the way that it's just all the different places you come from. And when you and I talk about it, I just tell me, but what were early years like for you as a kid?
Man, you know, I was born in San Jose. I was born in the Bay Area. I don't remember. I have pictures of my first piano recital when I was 3 years old. There's a picture of it, and I'm like in a little shirt with a little bow tie sitting at the piano, but I don't remember it. So I've been playing piano, you know, before my memory starts really. So it was kind of always a part of my life. And then we moved to Cleveland when I was 5. My dad gave up. He was a businessman in San Francisco, and he gave up everything and moved to Cleveland and started a church. And so it was like a major culture shock. Our entire lives changed. Like, he sold his Mercedes for a station wagon, and we were in Cleveland in 1989 when the city smelled like sulfur and the river was basically, I think, had just caught on fire. And so I remember waking up that first morning, you know, to a farm, and I'd never seen anything like it before coming from California. But there was this radio station in Cleveland that I listened to called Magic 105.7. Cleveland Magic 105.7. And they played everything, basically the 40s, 50s, 60s. But, you know, that was the first time, that was like my earliest kind of like Western music influence came from that radio station because I listened to it all the time. I loved it. And that was the first, and so the first time a light bulb really turned on for me musically, and there were 2 times where I remember it happening distinctly. The first time was I was in the car with my mom. I think I was going maybe to like T-ball practice or something. We were listening to Magic 105.7, and I Get Around came on by the Beach Boys. And it's the first time I heard that song. And I remember it so vividly. It's weird to talk about a memory from when I was 5 years old because I was so young. But the way that song moved me, it lit something up in my brain, and I became obsessed. And I remember I wouldn't stop talking about it. I remember saying, "Who is this? Who is this?" And she was like, "I think this is the Beach Boys." And I was like, and I was in love. And my dad that week for dinner brought home a cassette tape that was a single. On one side was I Get Around, on the other side of the tape was Fun, Fun, Fun. And I remember putting that in the radio, and I was doing somersaults around the living room, playing it over and over and over and over and over again. And that kind of got me into the rest of the catalog. But those early days, you know, that was like, and that ended up, and I'm still obsessed with the Beach Boys. That never stopped. They've been my favorite band since I was 5. They were the first concert I ever saw when I was 7. They came to Cleveland and played at Blossom, which is crazy because 20 years later, Foster the People opened up for them at that place at Blossom, which was like probably the highest point of my life, like, because it's just so surreal, and I never in a million years thought that those are things you don't even dream about. Those are things you don't even think about. That was like a complete surprise. But yeah, so those early days, it was a lot, and there's a lot of Motown, basically a lot of Motown. A lot of that stuff was kind of the early influence for me.
Yeah, I mean, those records are so great too, those Motown records. And, while I was home here, I realized there was a new documentary called Hitsville, the Making of Motown, that features Berry Gordy and Smokey are like the main dudes in it, But it's a phenomenal doc because you think about how great those songs were. And just this whole idea that he ran a jazz record store, but all the people in the working town of Detroit wanted blues records. And he was like, no, man, I'm selling these jazz records. And he goes, I had to close it down because it's like, people wanted something else. Gets a job at the Ford Motor Plant and looks at the assembly line and realizes that that's how he wants to run, that business with like songwriters, like just the whole thing, the way he spread it out. It's a phenomenal documentary because, and you think about all those songs, they used to call that one other thing in there where they said they were calling them the no-hit Supremes. And of course, then they had 5 number ones in a row. But those vocals from all those guys, the Temps, Smokey, and then, Levi Stubbs of the Four Tops is like, to me, one of the greatest singers of all time. I love that guy.
Unbelievable what they captured.
Yeah, it was incredible. So yeah, people watching us, if you get a chance, check out that documentary because it's really informative, but it's also, there's so much warmth in it. It's great. I love that. Now, so Mark, so tell me, so you were playing piano. That's the first thing that you were doing. Tell me about the transition as you got a little older. I know that our mutual friend that we love, Alison Hagendorf, when you first, she was actually wanted to sign you as a solo artist by yourself and was really, really interested. Before everything happened with Pumped Up Kicks, like when literally, like, what was the name of that website? Pumped Up Kicks was on.
Hype Machine.
Hype Machine, that's right.
Yeah.
And it was all of a sudden because of your song, that it legitimized Hype Machine. People were like paying a lot of attention to it, almost like a thing like SoundCloud would be for people now, or whatever they're using. Tell me about that experience, because I know you did everything that a musician does. You delivered pizzas. You do whatever you had to do. You know, like me. I mean, I taxi dispatched when I wasn't spinning at clubs at night and driving through snowstorms to be on the radio on the weekend when people wouldn't take shifts before I got a break. So we all did it. We paid our dues in a way. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, God, man, I've worked every job under the sun. I've worked from working in a research and development lab, being a grunt for General Electric, to working at a gas station, to working at grocery stores, to folding clothes overnight at the Grove in the graveyard shift, to selling kitchen cutlery door to door, to being a barista at Alcove Cafe in Los Feliz, to delivering pizzas for mamas and papas in LA.
Yeah.
Painting houses, just whatever I had to do.
Yeah.
Whatever I had to do to survive. And, so those.
It's freezing a lot today. Hey, Mark, I'll put this up for a second, Mark. So, if you can actually, go over that thought again, the last one that you had, because you're frozen on the screen right now. I'm just gonna wait and see what we can do about that. I wonder if our tech guys can. Oh, there you go. You're moving again. But I love these stories. I love when you and I talk about them. So you're a little frozen at the moment. Yeah, man, I'll just say this, every musician out there, they would do whatever they had to do while they were working on things. I had the same attitude towards radio. I literally, whatever I had to do to work part-time so that I continue to do what I had to do was I would do it. I would work hard. That's all part of paying your dues. And it builds so much character. And that's why, and someone like you, Mark, who, really, like you said, you were doing that for a long time. I think who was one of the famous musicians you delivered pizzas to? Was it Chris Cornell or was it somebody else? I can't remember. Chris Cornell, yeah. That's like, because we're fans of his, right? I remember we were saying it before the show started, but you were learning how to play guitar, listening to the Three-Legged Dog album by Alice in Chains, Over Now, which, by the way, I was going through my first divorce, and I asked Jerry to play that. I was hanging out with Jerry and Mike. We were spending a lot of time together in New York, and they were getting ready for the Unplugged. And I was there that night with Metallica, out with those guys. But Mike did that funny thing on his friends don't let friends cut their hair on his bass. Jerry was so cool and so nice about it that he did Over Now that night. And right before The Killer and Me. And the other one that I asked him to do, I don't do, you got to do Got Me Wrong, man. Because I love that off Sap and, from the Clerks soundtrack and everything. And I love that record. And, so that's great that you learned on Over Now because it was such an important song at that moment for me because I was going through my divorce. My first divorce. Yeah. It was really hard to be away from my first daughter. So that song always reminded me of that and getting strength from it, man.
Yeah, and also on the record version, starting with the taps too. Remember that?
Yeah.
It's like 25 seconds of taps. The you had to wait for it, and then it was like dun dun, but the unplugged version was incredible. That whole album was incredible. It was one of my favorite Alice in Chains records. That live unplugged record. But so the second light bulb moment, and there were basically two. The first one was the Beach Boys. The second one was the first time I heard "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and that week, that's what drove me. I was 12 years old, and that's when that week I was like, I need to learn how to play guitar because I only played piano up until that point. I went home and I figured it out. I played by ear. I don't really read music. I can a little bit now because of being a musician for so long, but I play by ear. I got home and I figured it out on the piano, and I remember it like being like, how come this doesn't sound right? And they're like, well, because it's not on a guitar. It needs to be on a guitar. And I didn't realize. I was like, I thought that I was gonna like if I played the song right that it would feel like the song, but it didn't. I was like, well, I need to learn how to play guitar then. And so I started playing guitar, and that was kind of like the catalyst for the next kind of phase of life. Nirvana, Green Day, Dookie, STP, Alice in Chains, and then that kind of and Tool. Tool was a huge one, and then that went into the Deftones. And then in Cleveland, we're talking like 1997, 98 at this point. The whole scene there was metal and hardcore. And so I got involved in the local scene there. Played in different hardcore bands in Cleveland, would go to shows every weekend supporting the other local hardcore bands and semi-national bands, like 216 and, State of Conviction and Integrity and Resist. There are all these Cleveland bands, but then all these other bands would come through. All the hardcore bands would come through, like Poison the Well and From Autumn to Ashes and Converge and Dillinger Escape Plan and all that stuff. So it was kind of a smattering of that stuff. And so that was kind of the next kind of phase of my, I guess, musical education before I moved to LA. I was in a hardcore band for 3 years in Cleveland, and then I moved to LA when I was 18. And with still the thought that I was going to start a hardcore band in LA. But I wanted to get out of Cleveland. And the only reason I started using my voice really let me back up. I sang in the Cleveland Orchestra Children's Choir.
We just lost you for a second there. And you were talking about that, the Cleveland, the Children's Choir that you performed with them, right? And that must have been. So I was learning about singing, and obviously you loved harmonies with the Beach Boys and all the different records that you listened to, because how you're so I love that when we were so young, we're totally unjaded, and we listen to the beauty of a song, and we feel something from an artist. It becomes so influential and a big part of what we do. But harmonies are just so incredible. And we were talking about Scott Weiland earlier, you and I, before we went on the air. And, you know, Scott was part of a choir, and he was part of the school choir, which is why he was able to sing. So you did that in Cleveland when you were a kid?
I did that in Cleveland when I was a kid for 4 years. And that was kind of like, from, I guess, 4th grade to 8th grade. So whatever age, 10 to 14.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, at Severance Hall in Cleveland, which is a really beautiful place where the orchestra plays. And, you know, that was my first like formal training, I guess, because it was like, you know, as a professional kids choir. And it was, you know, it was incredible because I remember being on stage with the orchestra for the first time and visually connecting the instruments with the sounds that they made. And I remember one year they did you know, Tchaikovsky, they did like the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, which is like one of my favorite pieces of music because it starts out with that magical, you know, it was a celeste, but I didn't know what it was at the time. I was like, what is that sound? That brum, 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 you know, brum, 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 da, 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 and like, and I was watching and I got to see them playing on this little tiny toy piano, and I was like, you know, and the bassoons and connecting stuff. So it was a really, it was another moment, I think, that kind of made me really fall in love with sound, you know, and realize that different things make different sounds and different sounds make you feel different emotions, you know, and that's what music really is. It's like, it's the medium of emotions. It's like you're using sonics and vibrations to make people feel.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely. And that's amazing. I love that. I love the way that you've always layered stuff. So let's talk about when you did the first album. And tell me about how the band got together. I mean, we've always loved the story about, you know, like somebody Foster and the People, and then somebody thought you said, "Oh, Foster and the People," and you're like, "Actually, that's really cool. I'll keep that name." And I love that. I think it's great, and it's your last name. I just love the way that happened. You know what I mean? A very natural thing.
Yeah. So, you know, Mark Pontius, our drummer, and I had been playing together just for fun, and we'd known each other for a couple of years. But he was in another band called Malbec that he was like in for 5-6 years, and that was his baby. That was his project. That was like he was on that train. But he was personally, and I didn't have a band, but I was a songwriter. So I was always writing songs. I was always working in the studio by myself, just creating. There wasn't a home for them. I didn't really know what I was going to do with them. I just made songs. And Mark, but I knew that if I ever had an opportunity to play with Mark, that I wanted him to be my drummer. And so him and Malbec broke up. The band broke up. And kind of around, in a synchronicity, around the same time, I kind of went to him, and as I was feeling like I wanted to start a new band, and said, "Do you want to play together?" And so we started, and then I brought in my friend Cubby, who I'd known for probably a year. I was friends with him before I knew he even played bass. I found out he played bass, watched him play, liked his vibe, and I knew that they would get along. They're both like surfers, super laid back. I just knew that the rhythm section, I knew that they would like be brothers. And so I brought Cubby in.
Yeah.
And we just started playing together. And originally it was kind of a solo project. Like they were playing in other projects, and they didn't really want to start a band. I think that they were also burned from being in projects and it not working out. And like, I don't know if I have the energy. It takes a lot of energy to get a band off the ground. It takes so much more energy than just showing up with your instrument and playing in a garage. Like that's the fun part. But there's so many other things that go into it to be able to get your music into somebody else's ears. And so everybody was kind of weighing the cost of, is this worth it? And I kept kind of cracking the whip and just being like, trust me, guy. Like we got something. I can feel it. Let's just push. And so early on, I don't know. We played a couple shows. I had been composing at a company called Mophonics in Venice Beach, which allowed me to stop being a barista at Alcove. And I had my own little studio by the beach, and I'd work on commercials in the day. And then when everybody else would go home, I would write my own stuff. And that's where I wrote most of Torches. So like in that room, that's where I wrote Call It What You Want and Helena Beat and Broken Jaw, Houdini Waste, Warrant, Pumped Up Kicks. Most of the songs was written in that room in Venice at Mophonics. And but when Pumped Up Kicks, when I wrote that, the band, we had just Mark Pontius designed our website. It was a very simple page. We did one photo shoot with just like a simple picture of each of us. And then we put a player up, just a player. It was just a splash page, a player, the band name. Or I don't even know if there was a band. No, there was a band name. It was Foster the People. We decided on that by this point. And we put Pumped Up Kicks out for free. Somebody blogged about it, and it took off on Hype Machine and started getting picked up everywhere. And then our band email just started getting flooded, and I knew that it was kind of like it was happening. And so we were thrust into it. We were thrown into the deep water. We had South by Southwest was a month later. We all pitched in and rented a van, packed our gear in there, and drove out to Austin. And played 4 shows that a ton of industry and stuff. It was all the things that you want to happen when you're a struggling musician. You can't get even your friends to come see you play live. Those days were over. It was kind of everything just changed in that moment. And 6 months later, we signed with Columbia, and it was and we were off to the races, finishing up Torches and putting it out.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, Call What You Want was always one of my favorites on the album too, because I loved just the things that you were doing with the notes and pushing the limits and bending these notes and the cool things that I like. I remember playing, putting it in my iPod at home, and then listening to it all night on a red eye. And it playing it for this person from Sweden, this woman who was sitting next to me. I'm like, you gotta hear this. And she was like, she fell in love with it. It was one of those things. It felt so good, And again, people always talk about Pumped Up Kicks and how it's actually, about, it's a school shooting, right? That people talk about. Now tell me, because people like to, explain to me really where the lyrical idea came from for that song. Just if you don't mind talking about that. I know you said it a bunch of times.
It's fine. Never in a million years did, to me, when I wrote that song, it was just another song. It's not any more special than any of the other songs, other than the fact that people made it special because they obviously, connected with it. But a lot of times when I write lyrics, I turn on I usually start with music first. I usually start with a drum beat and a bass line or a chordal pattern, but usually drums is the first thing that drums are, for whatever reason, like steroids for my songwriting. Like a good drum beat, my head fills with melodies, which is funny because drums are my worst instrument.
That's but it kills. I watched you layer songs. I watched you do it. And I've seen songs develop that you do it. For me, it's very fascinating.
Yeah, so it's, my process is like this. I start with the music. The music has a feeling, and then I turn on a microphone and I press record, and I don't know what I'm going to say, and I don't know what I'm going to sing. I just kind of try to spiritually kind of turn off the inner critic, connect to the music, and then just go. And I'll do that. I'll loop the song and I'll sing through it multiple times with different approaches, different ideas, different characters. Like I write a lot with characters because if I'm singing with the character, sometimes that helps kind of define what that character would say lyrically. And so, and that song specifically, when I turned on the mic and I started singing, in the freestyle, the first thing that came out of my mouth was Robert's got a quick hand. And that line kind of defined, it was so visual and so specific, and it was such a great opener. it was almost like observing myself. But Robert's got a quick hand, and then it led to the next line. You know, he'll look around the room, he won't tell you his plan. And I started to realize as I was singing it that this was like a first person kind of perspective on somebody kind of scanning a room and kind of going through this mental turmoil, this plan, formulating this kind of violent plan, and kind of like almost in pieces, you know, little pictures of this person's life. But which is weird because, you know, the chorus, and I've talked about this so many times. I mean, I never in a million years thought that I would talk about this song so much, but you know, it's 10 years ago and like 3 months to the day, almost.
You're like changed so much since then, man. It's unbelievable, right?
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, you know, it was a weird thing, and it happened to connect, and then I think it took a couple of years for the rest of the country to kind of catch on, and then it started to evolve into a negative thing, and started to be received in a way that wasn't a piece of art anymore, but was somehow, some people thought that it was like, you know, pro-shooter propaganda, which was, you know, also obviously very hard as like a person that feels responsible for creating that song, being like, and, you know, I've had to go through my own head of like, what is the job of an artist? How much responsibility do I take of what I put out, you know? And, you know, and I think, and that's been a big dance, you know, but at the end of it, I think that it's been where I've come around to is like, I can't filter myself as an I think it's so dangerous when people step in and try to filter artists, because, and comedians, and you see it right now with, you know, our cancel culture and everything that people talk about, that if somebody says something that's controversial, they're canceled. And, you know, all of these people are getting brought down for speaking, you know, their mind or speaking the truth, like comedians, whatever. And it's really, you know, I think it's a really dangerous thing, because comedy, like you look at George Carlin, or you look at Lenny Bruce, or you look at these people that were really controversial for the time, but then you look at culture a couple of years later and how much it changed and opened up because of them taking a stand and challenging people's thoughts and challenging people's ideas. You know, that pushes things forward, and it lets steam out of culture. The second you try to edit somebody artistically from expressing themselves, people tend to express themselves violently. But if they have an outlet in film or in music or in comedy where somebody's saying something that they can connect to, those things inside of them have a healthy channel now to come out. You know, so I'm a big advocate for talking about anything under the sun. You know, you look at Mike Kelly, the artist. I don't know if you went to his exhibit at LACMA, but, you know, a lot of this stuff is really dark, and a lot of it has to do with like, it's sexual in nature. It's very uncomfortable, you know, but I walked away being like, that guy's a fucking hero, because he expressed his dark thoughts into his art rather than acting on them in physical reality.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I think it's a dangerous time when people are not allowed to speak their minds and be creative. And I love the comedians who still actually push that envelope. They should. People should say what they feel. Freedom of speech, it's very, very important but I agree, like people that get offended, and because of, you know, the way that we're connected with social media and everything else, people are like, you know, trolling and come down on others. But, you know, I agree. I just want you to know I agree 100% with that. Now, Mark, Supermodel, you know, Sacred Hearts Club, all great records, man. And you know, since then you've been working on stuff, and really, I mean, we're going to talk about the albums in a second, but you played me song ideas and some songs that I just was blown away by. I just so I'm excited for your fans. What do you see as like the next time you'll release another single at this period of time? What do you think you'll do? Because I
had a phone call today. We've got a couple songs that we're going to put out in the next couple weeks, so that's something to look forward to. A couple new songs, and I think we're going to continue doing that. You know, we've got maybe like a EP's worth of material that's ready to put out.
Yeah.
And then I've been like toiling, working on a couple records. full LPs that hopefully we'll be able to get out soon as well. So
that's great. I know you're working on a couple. You mentioned a couple of different projects, like almost in different styles. I'm just expressing yourself. So we so look forward to that. I mean, I can't tell you. So we talked about the Beach Boys earlier, and I know that I'm just it's in a weird graphic, so I couldn't really see. Here we go. Where is it? All right. So and we love 2020, and we talked about why you love that, why you picked that record, but and that and like I mentioned that it was kind of that middle period. So what do you think about why you love 2020?
2020 is a record by the Beach Boys that I picked because I feel like it's a lot of people pass it up. Everybody knows Pet Sounds and they get all this credit for Pet Sounds, but the Beach Boys are so prolific and have such a giant I just don't think people are privy to it. 2020 has there's a couple songs on there that are really, really special. I Went to Sleep is one of them. It's like this lullaby that to me is like Brian Wilson's like heart, like given to you, like it's his heart in his hands, given to you with the most beautiful orchestration. It's like this like really dreamy. It's just a special song. And then Cabinessence and Our Prayer. I think Our Prayer's on there. Or maybe Our Prayer's on Surf's Up. I forget. But it's there's and then there's one more that I love on that record. Let me look at it on my end. It's a song that Be With Me. Yeah. Which
it's a great
Brian wrote, but Dennis Wilson sings it. And it's just beautiful, man. And it's crazy when you look at the history of them, that the reason they called that record 2020 was because it was the 20th studio release album they put out. And that was in 1969. They put out 20 albums in 1969. It was their 15th original album they put out. And that's over 15 albums in 7 years. I think their first record came out in 1962, maybe. So 1962 to 69, that's 7 years, man. 15, that's how prolific they were. Pet Sounds was the 11th album they put out. Their 11th. Like,
it's amazing.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy because, too, I love the fact that bands back then, even if it was Creedence Clearwater Revival, somebody like John Fogerty wanted to, like, keep making records because John Fogerty was afraid they would fall off the charts. So he like forced himself. But everybody, it was almost natural to do 3 albums a year. The Stones, the Beatles, everybody, 3 albums a year, I mean, they go off the road, write and record. Amazing how prolific and the body of work that with these artists and how great.
Their work ethic puts artists to shame. I mean, I will say that there's some hip hop artists that I think are that prolific nowadays, like Drake is always putting something out, it's a little different though, because it's lyrical. He's not making all the music as well, but still, it's incredible. You look at, the Beach Boys went through a cycle where it's like every 2 months they dropped Fire, and you're just like, where did this come from? How did you do this?
Yeah, it's amazing. They really, and they were the band besides the Motown stuff that was still in the charts when the British invasion came and the Beatles and you know what I mean? They were stayed creative, all the great things they did. Now the next album you picked reminds me of an album special I did at K-Rock in New York City. I hosted with Radiohead for this album at Electric Lady Studios in the basement. It was just Johnny Greenwood and Tom York and me and an audience. And the funniest thing about that intro, because it exists out there online, people can find it. They play some stuff acoustic. We did an interview, but he goes like this. I'm doing the intro, and I say, "Hail to the thief," and he goes, "Matt, say that again." And I go, "Hail to the thief," and he goes, "Fucking scared me." And it was really funny because he was just joking about my voice because it just sounded so funny, man. Because I've always had a great relationship with those guys over the years, and Hail to the Thief are really it's a great record. Tell me why you love it.
Hail to the Thief is when that record came out, I remember putting that record in my car and listening to it from front to back over and over and over again. You know, it's like there's certain times in your life when you get introduced to an album or when an album comes into your life and it kind of becomes the soundtrack to a certain time of your life. And it's like, you can't stop listening to it, you know? And I would sit in my car and because it just takes you on a journey. There are transitions, you know? I remember the first time hearing like the transition from, I think, what's the first song? 2 + 2 = 5. Here, you can, if you have it in front of you, step in because the track, the sequencing on this record is really special. But when it goes into the raindrops and the jungle drum stuff starts and then the lasers start going off and it's panning the way that it was mixed, everything. It's just like it took me to another place. Yeah. Obviously, like OK Computer, I think was or maybe the Benz was the first time I was introduced to Radiohead, and Kid A, that whole thing. I mean, it's so special what they've done. Hail to the Thief is one that I don't know how much like they get credit for. That I think is a masterpiece.
It really is. I mean, it's a great record, and that day it was just so cool when they were playing the stuff. Just him and Johnny and him playing on piano. I remember he did After the Gold Rush. And he forgot the lyrics for a second because he always told me when he and I would hang out before that. He said, you know, with his son that he would always play him Neil Young in the house, like play piano, play Neil Young songs. So he did the song, but I think he just forgot one lyric. And I remember management would not let us use it for the air because it was raining outside, and it was just crazy because it was raining outside. So the connection to K-Rock in New York, we had to tape it and run it later. So I wish that spontaneous recording still existed. But they did there and a bunch of stuff from that record.
Tom York playing Neil Young songs?
Yeah. He played After Go Rush as the last thing he did that day. But management felt bad that he forgot the lyric, so they made us take it off the broadcast. You know, and I'm fine with that. You know, I'm like, hey, whatever you got to do. You know, however you feel about how you want to present your artist. But they're great. But he and I were standing in the back by ourselves having this conversation about our kids and about, you know, turning your kids on the songs. I was talking about my daughter Jessica at the time, and you know, how I listen and sing with her in the car. And I mentioned this before on the show. And we would do harmonies, you know, Mamas and the Papas, Beatles, Split Ends, you know, Crowded House. And when he was telling me that it just I could see it, like imagine him just sitting there playing Neil Young songs for his son on the piano and singing them. So, I mean, he might have done a couple of other things, and it probably exists out there. But I loved it. It was a beautiful moment, and you know, and that's the real natural thing about, you know, spontaneity. You know, that's the beauty that we can sometimes.
I'll tell you right there. I'll tell you now too, and anybody who's watching, if they can give me an answer on Instagram or Twitter, if they know the answer to this on Mixomatosis, on that song on that record, I have never figured out what that bass sound is and what it's layered with. If it's like a Moog Taurus pedal through a live bass, if it's synth layered with something else, but the wah 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 down, like that sound is one of those sounds that will haunt me for the rest of my life until I figure out how to make it, because it's everything that I want out of a bass sound. It's I don't know, fucking Nigel Godrich is a wizard, and I mean they all are. It's just a pack of wizards.
Yeah, man, I love those guys, man. It's like I'll tell you something, Mark. I'll never forget when they drove down in a van that they rented because my friend Christine Biller, who worked for Oasis and with Ignition Management, who she's been a close friend. She had my dad as a teacher. She told Radiohead, look, she goes, fuck New York City. There ain't shit going on a Sunday night that's cool. Get in a van and drive and listen to Matt Pinfield spin in this Club The Melody. And they did, and they came down, and we had the fucking greatest night. Like, I took them out to their first experience at a Jersey diner. And it's funny because years later, I'm doing it in Rainbows. I'm talking to Ed O'Brien, and he goes, Matt, he goes, yeah, I'll never forget that time we went and Trial by Fire, those cheesy fries at like the diner. It was like they really, even though they're very private, they're actually really great people. And I love that about them, man. You know, so I love the music they've given us. And like I said, you know, I know it's in storage, but I got to get the Benz and OK Computer Gold records out here and put them on my wall because they mean the world to me. I just, I haven't been able to get back and get my stuff. And that'll be something. When this is over, this pandemic, the first thing I will do is go get that so I can hang it. But anyway, let's talk about more of your favorite records because people probably may not be familiar with a great record from the Velvet Teen. Talk to me about that. That Chris Wallace from Death Cab for Cutie when he's producing a bunch of people. So tell me about that.
The Velvet Teen are one of my favorite bands of all time. They're from Santa Rosa, California. Out of the Fierce Parade is their first LP. Even though all their records are great, but Chris Wallace produced it. It was highly influential on me as a songwriter because it kind of like skirted between classic style songwriting with like guitars and piano and more classic instruments, but then would weave in kind of electronic music, and it just weaved in like multiple genres of music, but it felt like a cohesive body of work. And Judah Negler, the singer, has one of those androgynous voices that like at times where you can't really tell if it's a guy or a girl, and so the music has this beautiful blend of like masculine and feminine energy. I don't know, it was just it's an incredible record from front to back. It's one of my favorite records of all time.
Yeah, I love that, and you also picked Converge, and when you picked that album, Jane Doe, I remember introducing them on stage and being there at a hardcore show in Worcester, Massachusetts. I went up there and I hosted this a whole day of people moshing, and those guys are from from Massachusetts. Tell me why you love that record in particular. I'm sure you saw them, back in the day.
Yeah, weird. That record was like one of the first records that listening to that and listening to the musicality of that. And if I were to ever go to like music school and write a paper on this, I've always wanted to write an essay on that, but I'm not that studious, so I never have. But it would be on the connection between hardcore music and classical music, because to me, when you look at it from a musical perspective, they're movements. There's no verse chorus. It moves from left to right, through different time signatures, different feelings, different emotions, and then it's done. It's like this this expression. It's a journey. And Converge, that was the first time I ever really heard that done in that way. And I remember cracking open the lyric page and seeing that all the lyrics to their songs were like, is incredible poetry. Like the most like incredibly poetic, deep, like heart-wrenching, beautiful, like world-class poetry.
Yeah,
that you would never know it because when you hear it, the guy sounds like an engine on a motorcycle when he's screaming in the mic, and the music's so frenetic and just like so exciting that. And I was like, oh my God, wow! Like there's just it's a very special. That's a special band.
Yeah,
a special record.
Absolutely. So it was on Equal Vision, right? Because back in the day, that was Steve Reddy's label. So that's where I signed Code in Cambria. They were on Equal Vision first, and then signed them to Columbia. Yeah. And I love that label because the people that worked there were just always so great and such good people, and supported their artists in a really incredible, honest way. And they were straight edge, and they were just cool people. Anyway, but Rage Against the Machine, Evil Empire. What an album that is, man. I mean, you pick that, and it's just one of the greatest. I mean, opening with Bulls on Parade and then taking you on this journey, and it's just, tell me why you love that.
God, man, it's hard. It's Rage was one of those bands that early on kind of showed me that they did such a good job articulating the historical nature of their songwriting, taking something that's like writing song like Vietnam, like about the Vietnam War, or like writing about these different catastrophes or governmental things, or, Che Guevara, whatever, all these different historical kind of revolutionary topics that they would think about, but then they made it digestible. And it was kind of like you listen to it and it's such a mood. Like they did a really good job of taking the lyrical content with the mood of the music and then pushing it in a way where you knew that they were telling the truth, that they were being completely authentic to themselves and what they believed. And obviously their debut record, their self-titled album, I think it's self-titled.
Yeah, it is.
Was incredible. But Evil Empire was one of those records that when that came out from front to back, it was another record that I listened to again and again and again. And I think that it was kind of like, it helped give me a voice to know that it was okay to criticize the system that you're living in and be brave enough to talk about those things. And it just, it resonated with me. You know, I remember around that same time was when they played the DNC outside in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that was great. Michael Moore was
and,
cool. They did it. You know, those guys, they did. I like the fact that they were really taking a lot of risks and pushing the envelope. And, you know, the music is actually is relevant right now and needed because, you know, people have to question. Oh, we got a little frozen.
You know, about all this happening in Coachella.
Yeah, you there? You got it?
Every time I get excited, the internet can't handle it. The bandwidth freezes. I was so bummed about Coachella, the Rage headlining. I was so excited they were going to headline. I was going to go out to see them, and obviously it's postponed and for good reason. But I cannot wait for them to play again because it's like they've been in hibernation. It seems waiting for the perfect moment to. And right now is the perfect moment for Rage Against the Machine to come out. Can you hear me now? Is it?
I hear you right now. You're good. Yeah, absolutely. You know, but I do love it too. And you know, for me, it was amazing that you know, when they first came out and I was playing them on the radio and playing them on MTV. Somebody reached out to me and said, "Tom Morello would really like to meet you." So we went and had dinner down in Indian Row. On the Lower East Side of New York City, and we just sat and talked about music, man. And I immediately knew how incredibly intelligent and what a lovely human being he was, and what a great man. And you know, I've been friends with him so long now, and I just love the whole band, man. Like they're all Tim, Brad, Zach, of course. They're an incredible band, and what a great live band. And you know, because Zach came out of the heart, you know, yeah, it's amazing. So we're having some technical issues, guys.
Man, I've never seen them live.
Yeah. Oh, you will love them, man. They're just. It's going to be brilliant. So I'm looking forward. We need them now more than ever. That's what I'm going to say. Now, I love you picked. You weren't sure which Blur album you wanted to pick, so you kind of were like between Think Tank and the self-titled, right? So tell me which, if you had to pick one right now, what Blur album would be the one? You know.
I mean, I'd have to say Park Life, probably, if I had to pick one.
I'm glad you said Park Life, because you know what? That record is so groundbreaking and great. And it was incredible for them to, like, I mean, just from Girls and Boys going through that entire thing to the end, like those songs, like I love To the End. You know what I mean? It's just like a soundscape. It's beautiful, right? So tell me why you love it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like one of those things, you know, for Foster the People, for our band, you know, it's like one of those records that we can look to as a blueprint because Blur skirted, they went in and out of so many different genres and weren't afraid to change their identity musically, which has always been, all my favorite artists do that, you know, Beck does that too, like the Beatles did that too, you know, like maybe, you know, like the Kinks did that. There's certain bands that like they like to dabble in different things, and that record has it all on one album, you know. And so it kind of it's just a burst of creativity, you know. You can just tell that that's just what they wanted to do. They weren't playing within any rules, and you know, because I feel like a lot of times in the record industry, it's like, you know, they want to package your music and they want to sell it. That's the whole point of the record industry. But as a musician, it's like, hey, I like jazz and I like punk and I like metal and I like classical. Like, why do I need to pick one and just do that? Why does everything need to sound the same for you? Like, are you that dull that you can't follow me on my journey as an artist? You know, and I feel like certain bands are like, they just do it. You know, they just
I love that. You know, and you and I've hung out with Graham Cox. He lives here now. You know, and Graham is so great. And Damon, man, I was at their first ever U.S. show in New York City, Blur, and and they came to my radio station back on the Jersey Shore, and just it's cool just to watch their journey and go to. I've seen them so many times. I do love those guys, and I'm glad we've gotten to hang out with Graham Coxon together, and a bunch of our other friends. He's
one of my favorite players ever. Man, his style is the fucking best.
He really is, and he's really diverse too. He can do so many different things, which is really cool.
But you know it's him when you hear it because it's like, he can do so many different things, but it's still you're like, that's Graham Cox. I swear that's Graham Cox.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I'm glad. Like I said, I'm glad you're still doing stuff. And again, Damon, of course, too. Has done so many between Gorillaz and the Good, the Bad, and the Queen, and his World Music record label. They're just all great guys, but I mean, I like the fact that they do push that envelope and try and do so many different things. Now, you picked a Sufjan Stevens album. It's such a beautiful record. There's a lot of great songs on that record. Tell me why you picked that one.
Well, Sufjan Stevens, I think, is in my opinion.
Sufjan, but it's Sufjan. I know.
Sufjan Stevens, I don't know. I think he's the best songwriter of like our generation. I feel like that in the last 10 years, he's my favorite songwriter. His Seven Swans is one of those records that gets overlooked. I think like Field of Illinois and Say Yes to Michigan obviously like kind of exploded and that moment, but Seven Swans came out before that, and it's just like this gentle. There's a song on there called To Be Alone With You.
I love that
which is one of the songs ever written.
Yes.
And it just the feeling, I've cried multiple times listening to that song because it's just so gentle and vulnerable. But there's other stuff too. There's like the weird. Well, let me back up. Sufjan Stevens he's the only person I've ever heard that can take a banjo and take like Appalachian instruments and make the song sound electronic. The rhythms that he plays sounds completely modern, but the instruments he's using are like ancient history and like from a completely different world. Guy's just he's a creator.
I love that about him. And I speaking of To Be Alone With You, that was a beautiful moment when Claudio Sanchez, for my friend from Cody in Cambria, got married to Chandra, his wife. That's the song they played, and they walked out, and it was it was outdoors. It was kind of a cloudy day, but that song that was just so perfect, man. What an incredible song to play at your wedding, right?
That's beautiful. I love that.
It was amazing. Mark, I know we had an hour. You and I can continue to talk. We'll do this again. You know what I mean?
Let's do it again without the internet glitching when we can be in person and have no lag. And I'm sorry my computer was acting up. I have no control over anything that's happening in the world right now.
Yeah.
I'll snap my fingers and make it all disappear. But I love you, man. And it's great talking to you.
I love you too, Mark, so much, man.
Having me on your show. And can't wait to see you.
I can't wait to see you too because, man, we do see a lot of each other when you're not on the road. And I love our musical friendship, connection. But it's a deep human connection, man. We love each other and we love the music so much. We share that thing. And I'm so grateful to have that. So I can't wait to actually be to be right next to you again, man. I'm looking forward to it. Now, to everyone, thank Mark. It was so great to have him on. He picked amazing albums. And next week we've got Monday through Friday. We've got Howie Weinberg, who's a mutual friend of mine and Mark's, who is the probably most important record mastering guy of all time. Did Nirvana's Nevermind, to Beastie Boys, to Soundgarden, the albums we were talking about, to hip hop, and he's got stories that are really great. We're going to talk about, working with everybody from Nirvana to Soundgarden. He's just.
Clash, I think he did Combat Rock. I'll chime in.
He did Combat Rock too. He did. He did Grandmaster Flash, The Message. It's insane. He's still doing records every day and like things that are on the charts. Like he's killing it. And he's one of our best friends. So we're gonna Have him on Monday. Tuesday, Joey Santiago, another one of our great, great friends from the Pixies, will join us, talk about his favorite music. An old friend of mine from a band in Michigan called the Verpipe, Brian Vander Ark. He'll be here Wednesday. Thursday's Aaron Bruno from AWOL Nation. He'll be on Thursday. And Friday next week is Youngblood. So we got, and then in the coming weeks, we've got Johnny Resnick from the Goo Goo Dolls, Butch Walker, Pete Wentz. I mean, this thing's, we have such a, it's awesome. I love that all my friends are stepping up and we're doing this just to share our love of music and to stay close to each other. So it's very cool, you know? So thanks for taking the time. Send my love to Julia. Yeah, you know, just let her know.
I will, my brother.
Yeah, man, I tell her thanks. I'm so glad, like I said, they got Ozark Season 3 out before all this. And anyway, you stay safe. I love you.
You stay safe too, man. Great chatting with you.
Yeah, it was great talking about you.
Thanks for watching. Everybody at home, thanks for watching.
Yes, you got everybody. Thank you for watching. I want to thank, Linda Perry, Kerry Brown, Chris Trevero. I want to thank Aaron. I want to thank Nate and my brother Dre, my friend Dre, and Cliff Galbraith for the logo and all the people that are involved with this show and have been a part of this. So that keep this thing going. It's a great group of people to work with. And keep watching. We are here. We will join you again, same time, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. See some of your favorite artists, and we'll be talking about the music that changed our lives. I'm Matt Pinfield. This was In a Lonely Place. Remember to keep me in your heart.
It's the High-Low Show with Donita Sparks. Tonight's guests, David Yao, house band Luman Group, video art by Animal Charm. Here's Donita.
Welcome to my show, episode 3 of the High-Low Show with me, Donita Sparks. This is so exciting. I'm so happy to be here. Where is my band? Where is Lou Man? Lou Man Group. What do you mean? What do you mean? They're in the Breakyard. What are they doing there? Oh, their manager's here? Oh my God. Oh my God, I tried to warn them. I told them last week. They're arguing? Oh no, okay. All right. Oh God.
Get drunk in the club, roll with your hood, get stumped in the club, hey. Or you can get bugged in the club, get fucked up in the club, nigga, we don't give a fuck. But you don't want no problem. But you don't want no problem.
You haven't been with us from the beginning, and like you're overreaching, man.
You don't wanna be dead.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm not gonna get freaked out. I'm not gonna get rattled. Many blessings, many blessings. Margot, can you check on the band, please? I need a status report. Okay, I'm so worried about Lou Man Group. Okay. All right. Well, let's just get on with the show. My guest tonight is an actor, a singer, an author. In fact, he's got 2 books out, Copycat and the Jesus Lizard book. Legendary frontman of bands Scratch Acid, the Jesus Lizard, and the Reformation of Flipper. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage my pal, David Yao.
They say we're young and we don't know. Won't find out until we grow.
Well, I don't know if all that's true, but you got me and baby, I got you.
Babe, I got you, babe. I got you, babe.
I got flowers in the spring. I've got you to wear my ring.
You're a clown, and if I get scared, you're always around. Don't let them say your hair's too long, 'cause I don't care, with you I can't do wrong.
Then put your little hands in mine. There ain't no hill or mountain we can climb. Babe, I got you, babe.
I got you, babe.
I got you to hold my hand.
I got you to understand.
I got you to walk with me.
I got you to talk with me.
I got you to kiss goodnight.
I got you to hold me tight.
I got you and I won't let go.
I got you to love me so. I got you,
babe.
I got you, babe. I got you, babe. Oh, that was so sweet. I love that song. And isn't David great? I just adore him. And you know, a lot of people think he's this wild man and is a lunatic or something, but I happen to know that he's a romantic at heart. Okay, where exactly is Lou Man Group? What do you mean the managers in the green room? The managers in the green room? Headed towards the studio? Okay, all right, I'm really concerned right now. I've really got to check on this, guys. Please pardon me. We've got a situation on our hands, and I need to get some follow-up on this. All right, Margot, can we get the security cameras on, please? Okay, this is serious stuff. I'm concerned. Okay, if he's trying to step on them artistically, I'm going to be really PO'd.
Why don't you come and say it to my face?
Take a walk on the wild side. Say, hey honey, take a walk.
It's a little sharp. Sharp.
What do you need?
Sounds totally out of tune.
It can't be broken. We just got it.
Is this one?
No. No, 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 no.
Jesus, that guy is so intense. Poor Lou Man. Oh my God, that guy is just such a litigious creep. Sad to report, but I'm a little out of shape. The old saddlebags are getting a little baggier. I know some people love sunshine, and I totally get that. But as a narcissist, I love and miss stage lighting. So we're going to spice things up a little bit. I've got an aerobics workout. It's easy, rock and roll themed for those of you who don't like anything but. Here's the routine, everybody. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. Proud Mary. Proud Mary. Band on the Run. And Heroes. Super simple, right? Let's try one more time. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. Proud Mary. Proud Mary. Band on the Run. And Heroes. Okay, let's do this. Go you chicken fat. I'm not like other hosts. I want to show you the process here. It's pretty interesting work, and it is show business, but it's also journalism. I like to do my own reconnaissance. I like to dig in deep. I like to do my own homework, and you really have to get inside these people's heads before they come on set. I'm a little nervous. We do have a VIP coming next week. Looks like, fingers crossed, everybody. My people are speaking with his people, and he's a busy guy. He's a very talented guy. He's you know, Vigo's, I didn't mean to say Vigo's name. Did I say Vigo? Cat's out of the bag, but we're just hoping Mr. Mortensen will make an appearance next week, and I've got some homework to do. Let's crack this nut and go in deep, shall we? Okay, let's see. What do we have here? Now this looks interesting. A palm reading of Vigo's.
Wow. I love his little tip of his thumb. Little twisting back there that shows generous in nature. You always look for that in people to see where they're coming from. Yet on the other hand, his two personality. There's a cuspy thing about this guy with moods and stuff like that. So his mind over matter with almost everything that he does. Plus the passion here coming out of Venus. Very strong. Going into the thumb, coming into the logic, coming into the understanding of life and all that kind of thing. He's been around a few times. There is a cosmic connection with him too. He understands and likes himself and could well be a legend in his own mind in all sorts of different ways. His fingertips are very powerful. His hand is very strong. I think he's spiritual in his mind and his body and his spirit. And I think he also likes a lot of sex whenever he can get it. Nice lifeline coming all the way around the Venus there. And it's also setting him up in more things to do and more acting to come. And I see him producing and directing too.
Oh, wow. It says here Vigo speaks 7 languages. Oh, Vigo.
Que yo pensaba, bueno, acá puedo aprender algo y esto puede llegar a ser una película que me gustaría ver a mí.
Started what I think is going to be an important career. He does a great job as Bo, the eldest son.
Je vais redonner une petite place dans vos cœurs à l'un de vos fils les plus célèbres. Juste avant le tournage du film, جيت للجزائر وهدي باش نوجه.
Oh, wow. Vigo speaks 7 languages. Wow.
Sia riconosciuto in questa maniera, per far sì che ciò accada in una città e un paese.
Y muchísimas gracias por aquest premi. Jo creia que encara em quedàvem.
Oh, God. I'm out of my league. Who the hell do I think I am? Vigo's not coming on my show. He's like a Renaissance man. 7 languages. Jesus. I took 2 years of Spanish in high school, and the only thing I can remember to say is how to order queso on my burrito, por favor. It's embarrassing. Oh, well. I'll get over it. Grow up, Sparks. MoveOn.org. Jesus, stop being such a baby. Just get on with it. Get on with it. You're doing fine. You're doing fine. It's okay. It's okay. You got this. You got this.
I put out a solo record a few years back called Transmedicate, and I'd like to play this video off of that record. Here we go, Infancy of a Disaster.
All right, that's my show, episode 3, in the can. I want to thank my guests, David Yao, The Art of Animal Charm, and Luman Group, right? And tune in next time because you never know who's going to be stopping by. So remember to always stay high-low.